Welcome to Motorhoming Adventures, and this one's another episode in the How To series, which are gathering pace on the channel as I tinker around with the van. So we had a blind malfunction. The window blind on the driver's side door that slides across right to left has looks like something snapped in there, and it doesn't look very happy. And it's not really working, so I've got the good old bit of gaffer tape on it, which got us back from our trip that it broke on, and I'm going in to see if I can find out what's going on, and of course see if I can repair it without sending off for a new blind, which would cost God knows what and probably have to wait 6 months for. So we're going in, a blind exploration, probably blind leading a blind, something like that anyway. Let's go and have a look. This is what happened. A very thin piece of thread there came to slide the blind across through its cassette here, and it was going a bit wonky, so wonder what on earth was going on, and sure enough got to notice that the cord was snapped. Just put that up against that so you can see it's frayed at the end there and eventually snapped. So what I'm going to try and do is to try and work out how to get in to this bit. Looks like that should be located in there, whether this piece of cord is repairable, not sure. So have a look first, see what we can find out, and if it's repairable, do it. But of course, as always, to get to these things, which is in the door, we've got to work out how to get behind the panel. Looks like there's a little screw in there, and incidentally, if you obviously haven't seen the channel before, there's 1 or 2 how-to films on the channel, including one where I had to get myself into the hab door because it got locked out because the lock got damaged. So check out the channel for that. I'll put a link in for that film, which was taking all the panel off the hab door and replacing or tracking down the fault and then replacing the lock. So that's that one. So back to this one. So we've got to probably, I'll pop that screw out, and then it looks like perhaps round this, if we lever this back, I wouldn't be surprised if it's held in perhaps by some of those plastic clips that we found on the hab door, because it looks like we need to try and get this panel off, or certainly get it loose. So perhaps we can do a bit down in here with you can see this loose piece here. It looks like we've got to get the panel off so we can have a proper look. A, repair, or B, replace. So let's get in there. So popped out the little bung that was in the centre there, and there's a Phillips screw behind there. So let's see if we can get a screwdriver on that and loosen it off. Yep, can feel a bit of Makita power coming on here. So yeah, the screw is starting to loosen off all right in there. However, when you can actually see it start to pull out down the back of the door there. So I think what we've got to look at first before we try and take it anywhere out is to see if we can just loosen this panel off, because it feels like as I loosen the screw it wants to lift this panel away. So let's try and work out how to loosen the panel from its surround. So I've just prized back this this covering. You can just see there the gap, and there's not much holding it there. If I show you over the other side, then it's a little bit easier to get to. So you can see there the gap. But if you slide it all the way up, there's no apparent fixings up the side at the moment that I've found. However, at the top just climb up here. You can see we got these three. Got one there, one down the end there, and then another one there, which look like they're just lever back that, lift back the rubber again. Yeah, you can see that they're probably a bit like the hab doors, so they might be push-in. So just going to try and get a screwdriver, flathead screwdriver, just behind them and just see if they'll pop out. And that might be the start of the process, as there doesn't seem to be any of those fixings down the sides. So let's see if we can get those popped out. And I've just got a screwdriver down the back of them. I'll just ease that back a bit. Yeah, that seems to be coming out. Let's just see if we can show you those pins. There you go, you can just see those tiny plastic pins, that's all it is. So we'll work our way along to this one and then pop this one out. There we go, that's popped out pretty easily. And then we'll start to ease this back. So now that, you can see that's pretty loose now already, so I think then climb down without falling into the ditch next to my van. It looks like now we're starting to get this panel's coming away. We'll be able to get, oh yeah, look at that, you can already see the back of the cassette unit that the shutter's in. So I think we're going in the right way. Just perhaps try and get away with as little as possible. See, there's a screw down there that looks like it's come out of the receiver here. And my patented good old gaffer tape to hold it in place while we travelled back from France where it happened. Typical, always happens on the road, doesn't it? Right, let's work our way down and get this panel a bit looser. Of course, the other bit which we may have to consider apart from that is obviously this. Can't see, there's no obvious way that this is screwed in, but perhaps once I've got the panel a bit looser here, we might be able to see behind there, see what's holding that. There is a sort of plastic strip on the back of this, and it may be that pops off and sort of gives us access to a screw in at a funny angle, but I can't feel any sort of screw head inside there, so without getting my finger stuck. So it might be a different fixing mechanism. So let's carry on taking the panel off and see what we find. So we've got the plastic out from behind the seal, and that's the only way it is retained so far, is just by those three tiny little buttons that we levered out there. So you can see that everything's sort of starting to lever off now, so I think I'm going to back that screw up a bit more now to see if that allows some of this to come off. Just want to be a bit careful though that nothing falls apart in there, or at least if it does, I'll be able to work out where it's come from and how to put it back. Right, so I've backed that screw off, and the whole panel now, you can just see down the back there, this screw here was the one that was securing the door, but you can see there that the whole thing, the whole door panel, is now lifting away just with that. And in fact I can see as well that this isn't screwed through into the body of the door because there's nothing behind there. You can just see down here, that's where the handle is, and it's not through to the door frame. So in fact it looks like if we carry on, just got to be a bit careful here because we've got this rod here which is obviously connected with the door mechanism, so probably not going to take it right off until I know how or what this is securing, or how the mechanism works. It may be, in fact, now we've got this off, as you can see we've got plenty of space to get to this frame now. It may be that I can do what I need to do. You can certainly get to it all now, and it looks like it's just screwed on there. See, there's a couple of little screws, whoops, here, and then have we got anything over the other side? Yeah, we've got some little screws here, so it looks like I can get that whole cassette off. and then we might be able to work out a repair while it's off the window. And in fact, while I've just been messing around with it here, it looks as though obviously the grey thread, this thin grey thread, looks like it's obviously threaded through the blinds there, but not here. So it's obviously snapped, and it looks like this piece at the bottom here is connected. That might be the pulling bit, so it might be that there is a way I need to thread it back through in that direction to match that one, so that it pulls, so that the whole blind now works again. Not least because probably a screw or something's dropped out of here, which perhaps caused the thing to break in the first place, because that should be up in there somewhere. Yeah, so it feels like, yeah, I think if we get that cassette off, we'll be able to work out why that's actually come out of that housing there. Okay, onward and inward. So we're just loosening off these screws here, which seems to be allowing the cassette. Yeah, that's a now. Just see that, you can probably just see that cassette now moving against the door frame. So looks like those ones are going to be the ones, and then these recessed ones round the back here, I think, will let the cassette come out. So I popped out the bottom two ones there. So it looks like it's just that last one holding it at the top there, and then this last one, which I'll just finish off. I can almost do that by hand, and hopefully then it doesn't feel like it's any on the top. Let's just have a climb up there and see if there's anything along the top. Being careful not to knock this panel off now, as it's still hanging onto the door. Yeah, there's no screws up there, so let's see if we can pop the whole panel off. Right, so that's the screws popped out. This frame's already released itself, so from the top section as well, and then this side is now, I've just popped out that last screw up there, so looks like we can lift the whole thing out. So I'm definitely going to have to put the camera down to wiggle this cassette out. And there we go. You can see the holes there for the cassette. There's the electric window mechanism down there. So it is just a removable cassette. And then let's have a look here on the table now. Look at that, actually a bit of sunshine, amazing. So that was it was fixed in that way up, so we got to work out now what's gone wrong. So let me go digging. So the way it looks like it works is you can see these two there's a little spring there with an end of the cord there, and similarly a little spring there which we've still got the cord attached to, but obviously that's our broken piece of cord. So tracing this one back, that appears to go in through the corner there, and then it goes in at the bottom of the blind, but then it threads up the middle there. You can just see it going up through the hole there. It threads all the way up through there, and then it threads back through there and is tied off in that corner there. So working on that principle, this one would have gone through that little hole there, and then it would have gone down through that one, out the bottom, along the blind here, and then sure enough, when I flipped it over just now, that's where I found the other end of the frayed cord in there. So basically what we got to do then is get, probably see if I can source another piece of this. This is dead thin, it's only about a mil thick, but it's sort of braided cord, which I'm pretty sure I could find on Amazon or similar, and see if we can then just simply thread it back through there, down the tube, fiddle it through there. Although once this is all scrunched up, it should be pretty easy to thread that through, and then just try and get it secured in that back corner there, tied off either to the existing piece or anchored into whatever it's anchored into, because it would appear to sort of stop at the end there. That's the plan. What of course it doesn't explain is how when I first looked at the brake, when it was in situ, this bit at the bottom here had actually pulled out. It had pulled out of that little runner, but having looked at both ends, there's nothing securing that or stopping that from sliding out, apart from potentially just the cord. So it may be that once I've got the cord redone, because it just seems to push in there like that, once I've got the cord redone, I might just put a dab of glue or something in there just that holds it, or perhaps a little self-tapper I'll perhaps pop in there. Although if the cord comes up here, got to be a bit careful with that it doesn't provide a surface for it to continually fray the cord. And I'll need to investigate a bit more in that corner to see why it might have snapped, make sure there's nothing sharp in there that may have caused that malfunction. But it doesn't seem as though it should slide out that easily, because there are no screws on the bottom and the top rail, so it would mean that there's almost nothing to stop it sliding out like it did. So I'll just need to have another check in there to see what's holding it in that side, and it may be we've got to do a bit of remedial fixing to just to hold that in place. It does appear now I've got the thing upright and just put the blind back right the way back tight in its cassette. It does appear that the only thing that's stopping that bottom frame coming off is the cord. You can see there that cord now right at the bottom there is tight. That's obviously goes back up into the top one, so that's what's holding that bottom frame in place, and only that. Doesn't seem the best of designs. Like all these sort of things that end up going wrong, it's probably not the best of designs. But let's find out what went wrong here, and then see if we can retie it, and then of course get onto good old Amazon and see if we can find a piece of cord that's similar. Right, so we've ordered some 1mm grey blind cord, sort of braided, and then while we wait for good old Amazon to deliver that, and I'll close up shop, I'll just sort of show you a better angle from down here. You can get a flavour of how things work. So that's the bar I was talking about, that if you couldn't see earlier, that I just wanted to leave that intact. There is that's the screw that comes through from the door handle, and would appear to be the only thing holding that panel on, apart from those. You can just see those three little plastic buttons poking through there that are just push in only. So that's all that holds it on really, folks, and of course the rubber gasket. So I'll just pop that centre screw back in to hold the door panel. Won't put it all back together yet until we've got the cord, and see if we can get that mended. Right, so that looked pretty fine braid. So onto Amazon, I ordered 1mm. Turns out that it was absolutely spot on. If you look at this, is the one that's just arrived today. They look a pretty good match. So that was off Amazon. I'll put the link in the description below, but it's from UK Blind Parts, 1mm quality Roman blind cord grey, and that's or grey silver they call it. That's 10 meters for the princely sum of £3.70. So let's get on to the repair itself. I think we'll have to take out the other end of where the cord goes in, where the cord is secured in at the ends here. I'll probably just take out these screws at the end just to see how the cord is finished once I've threaded it back through there, whether it's just one gigantic knot that stops it pulling back through. I guess there's a little hole or something under there. So yeah, once we've got it threaded down through there and across, then we just need to see how it's been finished. So I might have a quick look at that one to compare. Right, into the blind. And of course, just to keep you guessing, these are tiny little star bolts, so just get one of those for the end of my screwdriver and we should be able to get in there. So I've chopped off the old piece that threads along there, down there, and then a snap that end. So let's tie a new piece on there and get it threaded, ready to be ended the other side. So tied on, got to come down the outside here through that hole, along. Let's just grab that end. There we go, and then we've just got to take the blind out of it. It's just ease it back from its track and thread it through the hole at the back there. That one, that's the corresponding one that this one threads through. So I'm just going to copy that and go the opposite direction, which should work. Once you threaded it in the bottom and then back up here, it's got to feed out. It's got to feed out through that little hole there. So I just put a piece of the old cord back in and then tied the two together, because otherwise it would be pretty fiddly to get it into that tiny little hole there just in the center of screen there that you can see. So put it back through. So that's the next phase, and then we've got to start just taking it back through the blind. Of course, we've now got to thread it through all these holes. So all those sewing kits that you pick up from hotels over the years, no, none of them had a needle obviously big enough for 1mm thread. So I've raided the daughter's hair grips and cut one side of the hair grip off and made it in to a giant needle, which now allows me, hopefully, to thread it through all those holes. So I popped the two screws out of the tops, just prise this little piece out of the end of these channels where it fits in, and these obviously are the two holes there that hold those tiny little grub screws. And then so we threaded it through with our patented hair grip needle, which doing 4 or 5 of these, bit more, 5 or 6 scrunched together, and then shoved it through, making sure not to tear it because it's obviously quite flimsy stuff. So we've threaded it all the way back through. You can see there's a bit of hard plastic at the very end there, which is trapped in that little channel. So I've come through there. You can see the frayed bit where it's obviously cut off or frayed and snapped. So I think what I'm going to do is they don't seem to utilise this little hole. There's one up the other end here which isn't used either. So I'm probably going to take the cord, the new piece of cord, back out here and then sort of tie it off with a large knot or something on the end just to stop it pulling back through. Because I don't think that'll interrupt or interfere, I should say, with any of the other bits of the mechanism, or indeed how it fits back into the door. So might just be an easier way of tying it off. Anyway, let's give that a go. So that's the re-threaded it, and then if we just bring it up right, should be able to. Yep, that's all working. Yeah. Okay, so we threaded it back through, as you saw, back down this bit here, and then to tie it off, because it was so fiddly, I've come back through that hole that I mentioned, and then I've just used a very slightly larger screw, a little bit bigger than the existing ones that were up there, and put a sort of brass washer to just to wind the thread around and cut it off and hold it in position, which is tight as a drum now. So I'm hoping that we are ready to go back in and give it a test. Okay, that's all of the screws back in. Door panel still off. It's got to fidget that in, but there we go. We have a working blind again. Fantastic. Tie off down there seems to have worked, but at least we now know if it goes again it's not the end of the world to get in there and redo it. Right, let's fiddle this panel back in. I've still kept that connected, as that looked a bit even more fiddly to get back on if I took it off. but there was plenty of room to work around the frame once you've just prized it away. So now let's fiddle this back into its rubber gasket here and get it resecured. So to get the gasket on, remember we left it sort of right in at the very bottom, but it's obviously quite fiddly to get it on. I found the best way of doing it is to keep this only screw that holds that panel, you remember, to keep it backed off, so that this is so that it's still a bit of give in it, both laterally and sort of in and out, and then that allows you, basically I just got a screwdriver under the edge here, and you can do a combination of just sliding the screwdriver up and or flexing this a bit while it's not completely tight, and that just allows you to nudge it in all the way around. Get those little plastic button, those 3 ones that were at the top, you remember that was the only thing holding the sort of top of the frame. And now we'll just wind that one up again, just tighten that up, and put the little cap on that was just there on the end, and we should be almost there, hopefully. Right, I suppose we better just make sure that that the door shuts and locks as well, now that we've got the gasket back on. Yeah, that's the first good sign, it actually shuts, and yeah, that's all okay. Fantastic. Well, I'm going to miss my little bit of gaffer tape. Good old gaffer tape. Always have some in your van. Never know when you might need it, eh? So, I don't think I'll miss it too much though, to be fair. I prefer to have the blind back. Right, that's that one done. Now, on to the next job. So, that's it. I know, very exciting episode of a how-to mend the door blind. It wasn't a trip in the Alps to Spain, to Croatia. It was mending a door blind. But, these exciting things have to be done, don't they? It saves paying a 200 or 300 quid for a new blind or whatever it would be. In fact, if you've ever had to replace one, how much was it? Out of interest. Was it more than £3.70 for my twine, for my cord? Anyway, check out the channel. There are no doubt 1 or 2 more films on there in the how-to series of me tinkering, basically. Thanks ever so much for watching, and we shall see you again very soon on Motorhoming Adventures. Good to have you along. Take care now, guys. Bye now.